Final where Arsenal will try and stop PSG from defending their title in Budapest. It's Saturday, May 30th, noon Eastern on CBS and on Paramount Plus. Chuck, how are you feeling about that, by the way, just before we talk about the conference?
Easy money.
Easy?
No.
How confident could you
really,
be feeling?
Honestly, it's house money is what it is. Wasn't the Premier League.
The pressure's off.
Yeah, the pressure's off.
Really?
Yeah.
The pressure's off. You've never won the Champions League. How's the pressure off?
Because the pressure to win a trophy, if they somehow fumbled the Premier League and everything was riding on this Champions League trophy, I think the scenario is much different. They're out partying until 5 a.m.
The valve was released yesterday significantly.
So now they're coming in. Of course, they're motivated to win the first European trophy, but the added pressure that comes with, we got to do it, we're stiff, to let's just be ourselves, we play the game. If we win, great, first European trophy. We lose, we got the Prem. There's a different vibe, there's a different feeling heading into that match now for Arsenal. I think the fear is gone.
The season is already a success, and it can only get better. It feels like saying it's a cherry on top minimizes how big the Champions League is. Then, you know what, it's a massive cherry. This could be from a successful season to a historic season.
Iconic.
Yeah.
And to throw that into perspective, you're talking about an Arsenal side that comes into this competition feeling, and into this final feeling, man, last year, I thought we were the better side than PSG. I thought we did enough. Donnarumma stood on his head. There's a little bit of a payback element to this as well, to say, hey, we get a second chance at them now. They are the top team. By the way, Chelsea beat them in the Club World Cup. I know they were fatigued, but we're going to have our opportunities. We just have to continue to stick to our game plan, which is let everyone call us boring. That's fine with us. If we win, we win. And I think that's a good way to go into this.
I don't know. Perhaps they think they're the better team. PSG beat them, and they beat them fair and square. There is a revenge element, and that was the whole discussion that we had after Bukayo Saka said what he said, that he knows who he wants in the Champions League final. Some said Bayern, some said PSG. It's kind of like a pick your poison between the two, and PSG up against Arsenal are definitely the favorites, but it's 90 minutes of football. It's a one-off game.
Wouldn't you agree, though, Nigel, is less pressure now for Arsenal now that they have won the Premier League and they're celebrating and they've got huge success this season already?
Yeah, it depends what boat you want to be in. I agree that does play a factor in it. I think it was 20 years since they last won the Premier League, which is great. It's not like they've never won the Premier League before. But you talk about Arsenal now, again, a club that wants to look at progression. The Champions League is what you want. You know, most of these Arsenal fans say Arsenal's a big club, but you never won the Champions League. So this is what you want. For the mentality standpoint, I can understand for the players, relief. But you talk about mentality monsters winning, like the boys just discussed there. This is an opportunity to make a historic achievement. To win the Premier League and to win the club's first ever Champions League, that should be the focus now. Yeah, Premier League's done, no problem. We can enjoy it fully after we get this Champions League out the way. So the focus for me of where they're at right now should be like, let's be ready and locked in to win this Champions League. You talk about mentality monsters and clubs at the highest level, what they do and how they get their players like that. That's, I think, the focus and how it should be. Because club like Arsenal, we see how long it took PSG, the players they bought, the managers they went through. Everything they wanted was the Champions League. They got it. Manchester City won Premier League titles when the new money come in, this new ownership group, best players, best managers, winning Premier League titles, dominating. What do they want next? The Champions League. Arsenal falls in that same bracket.
Who would you rather be in this Champions League final? Arsenal, having already won the Premier League and with a chance to have greatness, or PSG, the favourites in the game?
I think for me, I've always liked that underdog story anyway. So Arsenal are going into this as the underdogs. They're not going in as the favourites. PSG have the history. They've got the best manager in world football right now, when no one can argue, is Luis Enrique. And
you okay?
Are you okay?
He's imagining the final
Charlie
already.
is thinking about them lifting the trophy.
Are you okay? Are you worried about who's starting right back for Arsenal or what?
I was listening to you.
He's going through the scenarios. Listen, if PSG goes back-to-back after never having won the Champions League,
That takes them to another level now.
so
Takes Luis Enrique to another level.
if you really
Luis
think
Enrique's
about
already
it,
the best manager in the world.
you said the word iconic. If you really think about it, whoever wins the Champions League is going to have an iconic moment. We talked about the possibility of PSG being a dynasty when they won the first one in style with gusto, 5-0 against Inter. All right, hold your horses, pump the brakes. Winning back-to-back Champions League is very difficult if you're like not Real Madrid.
Yeah.
They're this close. And if Arsenal wins it, the double Prem Champions League,
It'll be amazing. And again, what you just said there is a fantastic point, because back-to-back Champions League for PSG, they've been searching just for one. And now to do that, it opens them to another level. You talk about worldwide fan base, the young people coming through, people love to be attached to winners. It takes the club to another level if they could do that back-to-back. But
it'd be amazing as well for Luis Enrique, especially with this squad of players after Neymar, Mbappe and Messi all left, and now you go back-to-back. If you are Mikel Arteta, do you change anything though? Charlie, you said Arsenal fans are happy to play whatever style of football just as long as they win.
Yeah, Poppy, I think you should definitely change things when you've gone perfect in the Champions League this year.
So you're just going to go as is?
You've played Bayern Munich. You've also won. So you've gone perfect in the Champions League this season, and you want to change now?
For a one-off game, though, you wouldn't change anything.
we'll change it right back.
Well, you couldn't do anything with Timber being injured. You know, you hope that Timber gets.
is he
back.
out completely for the final?
He's training apparently, but listen,
he's not out completely. But
it's going to be a great game.
All of a sudden, you're going to start him in the Champions League final. I don't know, but
it's going to be a great game of football.
Yeah.
It really is. Two different styles, whatever it is. It's a one-off final. Like you said, there's different elements and different mentality aspects we can look into it. But I said it before, and I said at the start, and we even had arguments about it, Poppy. I said from a while ago, PSG, for me, still to this day, I said, are the best team in the world. From what I've seen. They are the best football team in the world. From top to bottom, they're the best team.
You know what's a massive talking point that I don't think a lot of people have made? The fact that the Premier League is over for them. On Sunday, they could rotate their squad entirely. They get an extra 5 days of rest before a final. No, but imagine if for Arsenal the season would have gone down to the wire, final match day. You know how mentally stressful that can be, physically taxing? You get 5 days of rest before you go up against a PSG team that's been rotating all year. Take a look at how many minutes Marquinhos has played in the league. Take a look at how many minutes the Ballon d'Or winner has played in the league. They have the luxury of doing that, and Arsenal finally get an extra 5 days off.
But both top teams, they're both in the 1%. You talk about starting lineups, great. You talk about substitute options that they've got off the bench, great. And the level doesn't drop. So it should be a fantastic final.
Is everybody in agreement it's the best two teams in Europe, that we've got a final of the best two?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's special, isn't it? Because obviously, as we know, that doesn't always happen. Nice, you don't think so?
No, it is. I mean, some people would still argue about Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Some people would argue Bayern Munich.
I know it's a different, but you got to go with from
we
start
talk
to
about
finish.
winning mentality. Yes, Arsenal did their job.
In Europe, Arsenal
very favourable side.
They won the whole time, all the way through.
Very favourable
to be in the final.
I think it's very funny because a lot of us, myself included, have to almost backtrack a lot of the things that we were saying about Arsenal. I think that's why it's so hard to admit we're one of the best teams in Europe. Well, yeah, because it's not that pretty. Sometimes they decide to be more practical than adventurous and going for winning 3-0. But they've shown consistency more than any other team that they've been playing against. You might like it. You might hate the way that they play football. They win. And they've won the Premier League. They got over the line. And that has an incredible amount of merit.
Think about the way that Arteta came into the job with Lacazette and Aubameyang. They were playing beautiful football. Granit Xhaka would drop down and they'd complete 42 passes before scoring a goal. And everyone said, beautiful football. They'd win nothing. So Arteta said, you know what? Beautiful football, that's great. Absolutely nothing. I'm going to change the style to make sure that we win. And so you cannot argue with the direction he's gone.
So, Charlie, you're going...
Villa fans hoping for a trophy. Arsenal have already got one, and they have confirmed that they'll hold a victory parade to celebrate their Premier League triumph on Sunday, May the 31st, which is the day after the Champions League final, when Mikel Arteta will pit his wits against Luis Enrique. And the PSG boss spoke about Arteta during the club's media day ahead of the final.
Mikel Arteta, he's great as a coach. You can watch him on the bench. Every single match, he's excited. He shows everybody his energy, and he translates that power to their team, to their players. And I can balance very well if you analyze their stats, amazing stats, offensively and defensively. He shows that character every single day. And if I can't speak because we have the experience to play against them 3 or 4 times. I don't remember very well, but it was very difficult, and they can keep the ball clearly without any problems, and we try to keep the ball all the times, every single match, but it was difficult every match against them. And when they are defending, they are great, the best team in Europe with any doubt, and they are comfortable defending very low, but also pressing hot and pressing high. And yeah, it's going to be an amazing final, exciting final. They are looking forward to playing that final, because the last final they lost, I was there as a supporter of FC Barcelona in Paris. I remember that with my son Pacho, and it was nice because Barcelona won. And I hope Paris can beat them, but it's going to be a crazy match, difficult, very tough match.
Well, it promises to be a cracking final, doesn't it, in Budapest between Arsenal and PSG. And we've been catching up with some former Gunners who know what it takes to win the league title.
They had one of the hardest starts in the Premier League history. The teams they had to play at the start of the season was mind-blowing. You know, no one has a start like that, you know, but people forget that. You know, and they had times in the season when they were good on the eye. And then as it got on, I didn't expect anything different. I didn't expect them to be entertainment and winning 4 and 5s, because the pressure on them to win this Premier League after finishing second 3 years on the trot was through the roof. And I just think, you know, they played a certain way. They got a team to play a certain way, and it's worked a treat, and they've won the league. And in 10 years' time, when people are talking about it, and they show in 20 years' time their grandchildren their medals, or 30, 40 years' time, it's going to have winner on the back.
The feeling is just incredible. It's just, you can't describe. You just, everything, the emotions and adrenaline and everything is just rushing through your body, because you've worked so damn hard. And the ups and downs in any season, you know, the setbacks and the pushing forward and the injuries and the great goals, the last-minute goals, or the last-minute goals that defeat you and things like that, all mixture of emotion, and it comes out and you win it, and you just can't describe it. And then for me, the fans as well, the connection of the fans as well, you're even more connected with the fans with this kind of emotion. Everyone's in there together. It's just, and because it was such a long time ago, I mean, it's just, you know, a lot of people can't remember last time Arsenal won the league, and now they can actually believe it, and it's actually here now.
David Seaman won 3 league titles at Arsenal, and he thinks the club could easily go on to win a lot more trophies under Mikel Arteta.
You know, the release of pressure now is going to be so great, you know, that I wouldn't be surprised if this team would go on to win more and more, because they've sampled it now. They know what it feels like, and the release of that pressure, because 3 seasons at coming second is normally a real positive, but a lot of people turned it into a negative. But it wasn't. It was always a progression for Arsenal, and we've gone one step further, and now we're in with a great chance of winning a really, really special double.
Well, Arsenal legend Thierry Henry posted this on his Instagram. He said, "From Highbury seats to the Emirates, Arsenal Nation, finally we can celebrate. Special thanks to this generation. Finally now my kids saw us winning a title." Will continue their celebrations in North London. They may have won the title with one game to spare, but it certainly hasn't been plain sailing, as Robbie from AFTV can explain.
Robbie, I must ask you, you started that channel back in 2013, and it's fair to say that it was pretty fractured around this club, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How unified is this club now? It's almost a complete and utter opposite from what it was back then, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. Listen, I started the channel, and you know, it was a really tough time. It used to be very toxic around there. I ain't gonna lie. There were protests, you know. There were protests about the ownership. There was protests about the way the club was being run. And it was really horrible sometimes, actually. You know, I hear people used to chat a lot of nonsense about, oh, I bet you want the team not to do well because of views and all that nonsense. Me and all my team, we wanted this team to win. We're all Arsenal fans. We've been supporting Arsenal from the days of hybrid, long before we were doing the channel. So to see it was really horrible at the time, and to see it now is so beautiful.
A lot of that change Robbie just mentioned can be put down to Mikel Arteta's vision for the club and the board standing by him during difficult times.
I think it's fantastic that it's stuck with him. Deservedly so, by the way, because to win the FA Cup in his first season was a hell of an achievement, but it did go wrong at times. I mean, I think the lowest point was losing here at home to Burnley. I mean, if all the crowds had been in, it was semi-COVID, if you remember, then basically at that time, then I wonder whether they might have made a change. But massive credit to them. They backed him to the hilt. He's had 3 second-place finishes in a row. I don't think he's bottled any of them, by the way. The first one was a surprise. The second one, just look at the running. I think it was 9 wins out of the final 10. Last year, they're never in the mix. This year, they've really learned their lesson, I think, and really gone again. And I think it's huge credit to him, huge credit to the club, the way that they've backed him. And now he could arguably become the greatest manager in the club's history if he completes an unprecedented Premier League and Champions League double.
But I will say that I think Mikel Arteta is already will be remembered forever for what he's achieved, let alone just if they go into that Champions League final and are successful. But I think that Premier League victory, in some ways, it takes the pressure off for Budapest. Because if they had gone into that game like they did in 2006 with nothing else having been won that season, I think it would have added extra weight to that. But they can go in and enjoy it. They can go in knowing they're league winners. And that will give them, I think, an extra boost, an extra edge that will give them that little bit, you know, a little bit more that might be the difference between them winning and PSG claiming it. But I think now Arsenal have got that slight little bit of extra that they didn't have before.
I did forewarn these guys. They can sing a song at the end of this live, so let's just calm it down. It's like Arsenal have won the league or something, Julian. But okay. So as you can tell, the atmosphere has been fantastic today. Last night was incredible, wasn't it? Tens of thousands of Arsenal fans coming together to celebrate Arsenal's first title in 22 years. Inside and outside the stadium, you can see reminders of their last title triumph, that invincible season back in 2004. You know what? They've been the invincibles, Julian. Thierry Henry says they'll be the unforgettables, and the fans have been described as the unbearables. Do they care? I don't think so.
Champions 26, the Arsenal. Come on, boys.
After everything this club has been through, we've tried to do this our way. We've tried.
Well, Dharmesh, it's good to see you've got those Arsenal fans under control and they're listening to you and saving the songs for later. The fans are obviously in celebratory mood, but it's been a long journey, hasn't it, under Mikel Arteta, and to get that unity which he's now got between the club and its fan base, most importantly.
Julian, I've got to say, when I was interviewing Mikel Arteta back during COVID, the one thing he said that was missing was the synergy between the club and the fans, and that was his primary objective, to try and build that connection between the club, the players, the coaching staff and the supporters. And this season, it really has gone to another level. When I spoke to him a few months ago, I asked him whether he's got that synergy. He said, yes, it's getting there, but not quite. But then he said the dream was to get to what happened just before the Atletico Madrid game. And that's when we saw the Arsenal fans really connect with the team to just drag them over the line to get them to win this title. And there's one story I was told from earlier on this season that really built that connection. It was when Eberechi Eze signed for Arsenal from Crystal Palace. They wanted to parade Eberechi Eze in front of the fans, but they had a deadline, and with 10 minutes to go to that deadline, they were given the green light to enable them to parade Eberechi Eze in front of the fans before that Leeds United game. And it really did unify the fan base, because it was Victor Gyökeres's first home game, it was Martin Zubimendi's first home game, and Eberechi Eze almost coming back home really proved that that connection was there between the players, the fans, and everyone at this football club. And now, as you can see around me now, the connection is fantastic. Everyone here seems to be unified here at this football club, from top to bottom to the fans as well.
Yeah, unified in their praise of Mikel Arteta as well, heaping praise on him for what he's achieved. But it's not always been that way, has it, Darmesh? How much credit does the... Is this worth it? Can you even hear me? How much credit does the Arsenal hierarchy deserve for standing by him, Darmesh?
Julian, apologies. Could you just repeat that question? This is so rude. You know what? Come on.
Look at the power.
Just repeat that question.
Look at the power, Darmesh. They went silent, absolutely silent there. I was just asking about what credit you think the Arsenal hierarchy maybe deserves for standing by Arteta when there have been times when there were others calling for his head.
It's a great point, because this isn't an overnight success. This has been 8 years in the making since the Kroenke takeover, 6.5 years since Mikel Arteta took charge of Arsenal. And you've got to remember, in his first season, yes, he did win the FA Cup. They finished 8th. In his first full season, they finished 8th. And then they finished 5th, significantly behind Tottenham Hotspur. Then they've had those 3 second-place finishes. You know, at some other clubs, there might not have been the patience that Mikel Arteta has been afforded. But you've also got to remember that there was a really big moment early on in Mikel Arteta's tenure when he made the transition from a head coach to manager. And that was really, really significant, because then he became part of that leadership group. And when you speak to anyone around that leadership group, particularly the chief executive, Richard Garlick, he said there was no pressure on Mikel Arteta, because if there was, there would be pressure on the entire leadership group. That is why they have backed Mikel Arteta. He wasn't the right man for the job. He was the project for Arsenal from the moment that he was appointed. In fact, I think they even tried to get him before he actually joined Arsenal, and just maybe it was the right timing when he actually did join, because 6.5 years now into his tenure, after a 22-year wait, Arsenal, yes, and after 3, they are the Premier League champions.
They could keep it in no longer. He's in there somewhere. Darmesh, Chef, thank you very much indeed. Great scenes outside the Emirates. A huge achievement for Arsenal and their manager, Mikel Arteta. And in less than 7 years, he's taken the club from mid-table to Premier League champions. How did we all react to the news of his appointment back in December 2019? Over to you, Jules.
But I'm just hearing that there has been confirmation now from Arsenal that Mikel Arteta is now the new Arsenal head coach. Arteta, meanwhile, takes over an Arsenal side who are, as Ian's been saying, 10th in the Premier League. They're 7 points off the Champions League places.
You never know. It's very easy when you're an assistant and you haven't got to make big decisions, pick players, leave people out, upset lots of people. And when you're on a touchline and you've got to make a substitution with 10 minutes to go, until you physically have to do it time in, time out, no one really knows how you're going to cope with the pressure.
What does change from being a football coach to a football manager is the kind of pressures you're under, and it'll be interesting to see how he deals with it.
What are Arsenal getting in Mikel Arteta?
But I think the Arsenal people knows him. He was as a captain, so incredible professional and lovely person and incredible manager. So I think he will do an incredible job there.
This is a project. I did not want Arsenal to be going down a Man United line. which was throw money at a big name coach. Throw money at a big name coach. We might win a couple of trophies and that'll be okay, but you're building nothing.
I've been preparing for a few years for this challenge to come. I know the expectations, I know the level, and I know the stature of this club and what it deserves. I feel last week I was here with Manchester City, and I was a little bit down after the game when I felt what was going on. So we have to try to engage everybody. I have to try to convince the players what I want to do, how I want to do it. They have to start accepting a different process, a different way of thinking. And I want to get all the staff and everybody at the club with the same mindsets. You know, we have to build a culture that has to sustain the rest. If we don't have the right culture, the difficult moments, the tree is going to shake.
Yeah, that was then. Seeing him look so young makes me feel a little bit better.
Who's aged better?
Who's aged better? Good question.
Who's had the most stress? You or Mikel?
Well, he's still got jet black hair.
Have you still got the suit, by the way?
Somewhere, yeah. The tie and everything.
The tie, looking
Different
smart,
times.
it's all changed now.
Yeah, I know.
It's mad, isn't it? Do you know, when you look at that, and he says about changing the culture, and you believe what he said and how long it's took the journey to build a club. I mean, it's so interesting to look back. I'm sure there'll be some more exciting statements, but it was great to see that, Joe.
And also in a world where everyone wants quick fix, and we're seeing more and more managers just don't last in jobs. I mean, it's proof that if you do give a manager time, it can bear fruit.
Yeah, and I know there'll be a lot of people who say, well, he's had so much money, but it is the top end of the Premier League. You know, you're trading. Declan Rice ultimately, I think, was that the main signing that took them to the next level. I know it's an easy one, an obvious one, but I think, Joe, what he delivers in the middle of the pitch, the all-round. Maybe I'm biased to the midfield area, but it just is. Again, you need time, you need a bit of luck. It just, as I say, building that squad with a group of players, and I felt like they've started to improve. The Champions League suited them, and it's an unbelievable achievement. They've got to enjoy it. I don't really like to see it too much, but for those supporters just there at the stadium enjoying these days, and why not? You look at other clubs who've had the glory and they've had to wait a long time. Yeah. Isn't it?
It is a bit, isn't it? I mean, the stats you might have to wait. Could this be the first title of many? Because you look forward to next season, and obviously it looks like there's going to be a new manager at Manchester City. There's definitely a new manager who'll be getting his feet under the desk at Chelsea. Liverpool seem to be in transition. So much uncertainty at many of their rivals. Is there a chance now for Arsenal to dominate for a while?
It doesn't get any better for next season. I think that's a given. They're in a good position. I think, obviously, Liverpool, what's going to happen there? Look at that, Manchester United, still transition, need more players. Michael Carrick looks like it's going to be announced. Let's wait to see on that. And then from there on, Chelsea still seem to be missing several players, whether they can make the difference. And again, even Manchester City with Pep Guardiola, Bernardo Silva, John Stones going out the door, still in need a couple more. So lots of things in the balance, but I feel like it's a great opportunity for Arsenal to go and be right up there. Doesn't mean that it's a definite, but they're going to be in the mix for the next few years, especially with that squad, with a group of players, and now obviously possibly more finances to actually go and get a couple more players. And I said earlier about Mikel Arteta, it depends on, it's just my opinion in regards to, the fans don't appreciate what he's done. And it's like even Jay there, who knows the game so much, still felt like there wasn't enough from that. So will that get broken quite quickly? That's my only worry.
But you think now he's won the Premier League title, and if he goes on to win the Champions League title, sure, there's no doubt then that's put to bed.
But you would hope so. You would hope fans would be able to accept that if you lose 3 or 4 games at the start of next season. It's about the longevity. It's about Mikel Arteta being there for 10, 15 years to create a legacy. Whether it's not next year, but the year after, we're always going to be contending. We're always going to be in and around trophies. I think that is the difference. But we want it now. And I get it. If you want to win, football is short. You've got to take the trophies. But ultimately, it's getting harder and harder because of the challenges. We see all the other teams catching up so well with regards to how they play, who their signings are. It's getting tougher, the Premier League.
Speaking of signings, you mentioned before the arrival of Declan Rice. Is that the signing that swung it in their favour? If they hadn't had Declan Rice, would they be champions now?
I don't believe it, no. Because I feel with Declan Rice is the flexibility that he's got. We've seen him drop down to right back and then go and join. Yes, they changed it quite quickly. But whether he's the holding player whether he goes and helps defensively, aerially, the set pieces. I think the leadership regards to vocally as well, where I think he can help the squad, the people in and around him, the organisation of that. And then when he leaves that holding position, goes into a natural like number 8, box to box, he's incredible. He can get into final areas, he can make late runs, breaks up play. We're seeing a real all-round midfielder now, like a Steven Gerrard. I think he's that influential. I think he's very professional, dedicated. He's always available to play. You know, you see him go off injured, you go, do you know what? He's got a really bad knock, but you know he'll be there at the weekend. And he's been so impressive. I think he's a real plus point to this Arsenal squad. And I think, again, his peers really like the way he goes about it. And I think that's an added bonus for him.
Would he just briefly be your player of the year, or would you give it to someone else?
Yeah, he's right up there. I think with the title, I'm always cautious to give player of the year before we see what's lifted at the end. And I think that even comes into Champions League, etc. You know, we need to see right at the end of the season where that's going to be. So, yeah, unbelievable player and person to seem to go with it. And you can just see he was the one rallying around saying, come on, we can still do it, and he's got his wish.
Yeah, Declan Rice, big